The next topic is on marketing. So now we're dealing with the marketing section. Now, what we were talking about basically kind of like goes for everything, but here we're now going deeper into the marketing issues. Aren't all businesses ultimately marketing businesses? So if you ask yourself this question, what does Nike sell? What does Nike sell? Okay, so you think, oh, it sells shoes. No, Chinese factories make the shoes. They sell advertising. They're just exactly what you said. They sell everything. Basically, they're just an advertisement company. So Nike's an advertisement company. In the end of the day, it's not about your product. It's about your marketing. In fact, you don't even need a product because you can sell other people's product. Everybody's got affiliate systems. Everybody's got, sell our product. We'll give you a percentage. If you know how to sell, then the product makes no difference. And I give you examples of this. People have like this belief system that if you have a better product, you will make more money. So, and I gave you the example of the McDonald's. Someone has, their mom makes a better hamburger than McDonald's. Does your mom make more money than McDonald's makes? No, but the hamburger is better. You can actually get a better burger everywhere. McDonald's is consistency. There's something else going on. The better product will not make more money. So when you go to market, you don't actually have to fear other people's better product. So they're like, oh my God, somebody came out, they have a better product. That's your belief system kicking in. Two belief systems. One of them is that the better product will win the market, which is not true. Number two belief system that's kicking in is that there's only enough money for either me or this other company, which is not true. You have 6 billion customers in Charlotte, all right? And a customer is born every minute. That's the title of a book, by the way. You have another person will say, if the service is better, if the quality is better, the service is better, you'll make more money. Such as Singapore Airlines, for example. Is Singapore Airlines, which is awesome, is it the greatest company in the world? In terms of service, but they don't make the most money. You know what makes the most money in the South? Is Southwest Airlines. Southwest Airlines is basically a bus. And the Americans know Southwest Airlines, right? It's a bus. You don't even have a seat. Go sit anywhere you want. Here's some peanuts. They make a joke, and flight's over. And they're the only profitable airline. All the other airlines are tanking, and Southwest Airlines is still maintaining because they have understood that you don't have to have high quality to move forward. Okay? So what is it in the end? It's about marketing. Right? There's systems involved, but at the end of the day, you have marketing, and you're the one making the money. Everybody trusts you, and they keep coming back to you, inshallah. Here are some marketing laws. I learned these marketing laws when I was when I moved back to the U.S. from Medina. I heard someone talk about marketing, and I'm like, wow. I even remember that exact instance. The brother said something about marketing, and I'm like, a concept that I've never heard before. And I'm like, I'd like to learn more about this. So I went to the store, and and all of a sudden, it was actually out of its proper section was a book on marketing, the 22 immutable laws of marketing. I think it was the 11 immutable laws of marketing. There's 22 laws of branding. So I pulled this book out, and subhanAllah, from that book, it was like revelation. It's just a small little book, and I built Al-Maghrib on that book. In fact, if you read through that book, go through any chapter, and you'll see that's why we do this at Al-Maghrib. Every single chapter, I'm going to explain some of those marketing laws to you, some of the most important ones, so that you can get your, as I said, give you a leapfrog into the industry, and you can go read as much as you want afterwards, but you know the basics of what you need to do. First thing is, you want to be the first. You want to be the first. So, there are different categories. For example, a category is first man on the moon. Who is the second man on the moon? Nobody knows. Who's the third man? Nobody knows. Who cares? We only care about the first man. Who was he? Neil Armstrong, that's right. And the second man on the moon was? What's that? Buzz Aldrin, right? Third man on the moon? For all of history, there was no third man? Okay, so exactly, that's what I'm talking about. Like, maybe the second person is good that you knew. Did anybody know Buzz Aldrin? You may have heard that name before. How many people knew that name? Okay, so then you have, for example, but then who's the first woman to walk on the moon? Was there even a woman? Now we have a new category, right? And you'll see actually car companies do this all the time. They'll say, in a class all by itself. They're trying to do that all the time, like trying to start a whole different industry so that they can be the first car, the crossovers or whatever they're trying to do. They start a new whole category so that they can own it. For example, every time you see an SUV, don't you feel inspired to call it a Jeep? Yeah, you're like Jeep Wrangler, right? So it's like, oh, you bought a new Jeep. It's like, it's not a Jeep. And I'm sure, GMC would not be happy if you called it a Jeep, right? All these different companies, it's not a Jeep. So if you own the category, sometimes the name of your company will even become the name for the whole category. Examples of this are Q-tips, right? So you find a generic brand of Q-tips. I can't even call it something else. What else is it? It's a what? A cotton swab, right? Who knows that it's a cotton swab? Q-tips is the name of the brand. In fact, the generic company would be like, yeah, stop calling it Q-tip. Xerox is the next example. Another example is Kleenex, and a Band-Aid and Vaseline, right? So they become so, you basically, once your name locks into the whole category, you own it. It's yours, right? People pay you royalties or whatever it is. You own it. It belongs to you. So rather than coming into a market where you're going to be like the 5 millionth person in the market, like health food, for example, right? Why don't you come into a new category that nobody's ever started? How do you do that? Okay, and here's an example, a real-life example that I did with one company, and that was the audio company, Iman Rush Audio. Have other people done audios before? Yes. Well, they'll continue to do it, okay? And so I couldn't say we're an audio company. What's the typical? There was a brother that sells audio, and he sells like all the shiyukh. And I basically came in and I said, you know what? I'm going to sell only Al-Maghrib instructors. Niche market. He's like, we can't even, break even with all the shiyukh we're selling. You'll never be able to do it with only the Al-Maghrib instructors. When someone says never to me, what happens? I bring up my fist like this. And I said, just watch me do it. He's like, okay, Mom. So the typical idea is get as many products as you can, and then you will have the market. It's the opposite. Get as few products as you can, focus on those, your niche market, and so on, and you give them what they're looking for. But now the name of the company, Iman Rush Audio. I sat down, it was actually one of Sheikh Walid's lectures. Sheikh Walid wasn't an instructor for Al-Maghrib at that time. I was sitting down in his lecture. This is like how I get like amazing brainstorms, is when I'm listening to other people's lectures. And my mind starts going different directions. I start writing down. And I wrote down the first names. But why Iman Rush? I started after choosing the name for the audio company. I started using that in my speeches. So I said, you know how when you're praying, you get this Iman Rush? They're like, yeah. It became a descriptive word for a rise of Iman in the person. And in fact, you'll see other shiyukh now, sometimes they're not even al-Maghrib shiyukh, and the student, basically the whole culture has changed to use this term for a rise of Iman. Why do people buy Islamic audios? Because they want their Iman to increase. They don't want a degree. They just want to go to work and increase their knowledge, increase their Iman, right? So then when they're listening to it, they want an Iman rush. If they went to another audio company, they would still seek out an Iman Rush Audio. And it becomes the whole category right there. That if you want your Iman to go up, you go to Iman Rush Audio. How could you go wrong? That's what the people are looking for. That's your target market. So what's the name for your company? Typically, people, when they choose their company's name, they choose the dumbest names in the world. A name that will work against you as your company gets larger. The generic name. If you choose a name that's an acronym, I feel like slapping you. Okay, the acronym names. ICS. IIBC, IMF. That's a pretty big company, right? But the ones that are big with the acronyms are the old ones. And it is possible to pull it off, right? But it's just going to work against you, right? What I hate, and I'm sure everybody knows, is when we take an Al-Maghrib seminar and then people acronym it. They're waiting to acronym it. So breach of covenant becomes BOC. And the shepherd's path becomes TSP. And I wanted to mess up everybody and pick a Maghrib class that was just one name, like Wicked. They go ahead, acronym that. W. Conquest. The biggest one that everybody... HOK, yeah. The one Islam and Vulnerable class, right? The making of the modern Muslim world. There were so many crazy dumb acronyms for that. When people acronym it, what are you actually trying to do? Make it easier, right? And once people use different, anyways, don't use an acronym for your name. End of story. Next thing is, so you've chosen the category. In the example of like the health farm, for the sister doing the health farm. Let's suppose you're from which country originally? Kenya. Okay. Immediately, I'm thinking Obama at that point. Yeah. How can you tie in, Obama says. But let's just do hypothetical, just get the example there. She's from Kenya. Let's suppose there's a certain type of root that grows in Kenya, doesn't grow anywhere in the world, and she mixes it with, like, say, something like a black seed. So it'd be like, ginseng, mixed with a black seed, like Kenyan ginseng. And then you create, for example, a special story to the Kenyan ginseng. And how, for example, if it was Habasha, you'd say how the companions of the Prophet ﷺ had come to Habasha, and this is the type of root that they used to drink. And you have like some sources, and you know what I'm saying? You have a special story to a root that nobody's ever really brought up before. Nobody's really researched it. And now this becomes a category that is being introduced to people. If there's a market for people that care about health food products or specifically Islamic health food things, right? And then you release a book, something, for example, to the effect of the herbal medicine that the Prophet ﷺ used. Or here is like jihad of the stomach. Sunnah-size it. An ebook that everybody's like, you know what? I've studied with Muhammad al-Sharif and I opened up my own company, health food, Kenyan ginseng. This is the ebook, download it. Your niche market will care about this. I don't care, but your niche market will. And then they download it, you've attached it to a newsletter, you start building up a mailing list of people that you are the category. And because your newsletter keeps coming out with helpful tips about how to fight disease through, prophetic medicine, stuff like that, you start building up a group of people that trust you for this information. As that grows more and more and more, then you start selling. We'll get to the funnel issue. You start small sale type of items, try my new product for free, things like that, and you start building up to more expensive items as you work down. If you do something beneficial, technically, if you look at anything beneficial, it might have the aspect of dawah in it. So if, for example, you're helping people get married, that's benefiting the people, then someone will say, shouldn't you do that for free? And basically anything that you have that's benefiting the people is going to go into an area where someone will say, you shouldn't charge money for this because so many people are benefiting. But the whole reason you're making money is because people are benefiting. Basically what the community is saying, only charge money for things that bring no benefit. And if that was the case, then no one's even going to buy anything from you if there's no benefit. Now, the example that you gave with Al-Maghrib Institute is something exceptional because that's actually the teaching of Islam. And the reason that I charged money was not because, let me start a business and stuff like that. The charging of the money was because people get committed when they pay money. And you can build a project much larger so that the shuyukh are focused on teaching rather than fundraising for an institute that flops, right? As you might see in like Islamic schools sometimes, they have all their teachers basically doing fundraising and whatnot, and the school is not really that beneficial. And they don't have like really strong sources of income, so they're always asking people for funds. That's their way of making income is fundraisers, right? And tuition from students, stuff like that. Sometimes they'll raise the tuition on the kids, but they only have like those two sources of income. Anyhow, so I don't think you're going to be teaching Islam. And if someone was going to be teaching Islam, yes, you would have a problem there. Like charging money. Someone says, teach me about the deen, and you're like, no, give me money first, right? It does become a problem. Obviously, with Al-Maghrib, it's just an exceptional case, but that's not your default for it. So if you're going to come into the Muslim community, your second question was what? How do you become a first in a category? Okay, so the reason people target the Muslim community is because they feel comfortable with the Muslim community. The reason I targeted the Muslim community is because I didn't want to take a lot out of like my mentioning and stuff like that. I didn't want to change my name. I didn't want to hide things. I just want to be straight out and up front. That was my desire. But some of your products, you might find that they're not even necessarily for the Muslim community. If they're not for the Muslim community, you might actually have some strength there, because now you have a wider audience of people. If they are, like, for example, I know in Houston, there's like, say, a restaurant, Syrian restaurant, that caters to Muslims and non-Muslims. the restaurants that cater exclusively to Muslims, basically it's like they've got Ayatul Kursi on the walls and there's a musalla in the back and stuff like that. They're not really that successful because like a non-Muslim doesn't feel comfortable like coming into a restaurant. Whereas you get like a Syrian restaurant where the person has made it comfortable for Muslims and non-Muslims to come in, people who like shawarma or people who like Syrian food. Now he has a market that even in Ramadan when Muslims aren't eating during the day, they're still coming in. Do you see what I'm saying? That even if the Muslim market isn't supporting it, the non-Muslims are still supporting it. So it depends on what you have. And if you have it and you have the Muslim market, then I would say like tap the Muslim market. You have a Muslim market all around the world. Yeah. Go and look at the people that you're dealing with. What are the issues that they need? People need to get married. That's a need that they have. Is it being fulfilled? No. What other needs? Their kids are being lost. That's a need for the community. You start looking around into the community. You're going to them and saying, what are they interested in? Notice the topics that they like to talk about at the masjids and so on and so forth are what topics? Usually they're like mortgage issue type of topics. Now you start seeing, some angles that you can start approaching the community. Wallahu ta'ala alam. Or different industries as well. So not necessarily just non-Muslims, but you look at other industries and see like, okay, what are they doing in that industry? And then your creative mind makes a bridge to the Muslim kind of like community, like what can I provide for them in this angle? Yeah. So even for example, in the Al-Maghrib model, I like business seminars, right? This is like an example of like I say a business seminar. I take that model and then branch it into like Islamic education. So I've merged like kind of like a business seminar model with an Islamic university model, put them together. No one's really done anything like that before. Merge two models, yeah. I would like to continue inshallah ta'ala. Is that all right? Let's continue. All right, we're talking about branding, still continuing on the branding. The law of extension is so natural to human being and it's so dangerous, okay? So you have, for example, a brand name. And with that brand name, alhamdulillah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives you success with it, okay? Then all of a sudden, so I'll give you the example of Al-Maghrib. Al-Maghrib, a brand name. The goal when I started Al-Maghrib was that I wanted to make the name strong enough that no matter what teacher would teach under the name, the class would be successful. That was my goal. So that it doesn't matter who the teacher is, people will register, not because of the teacher's name, and you can see this, even unknown teachers, the class is still full. Why did they come to an unknown teacher? It's because it has nothing to do with the name of the teacher, it's the brand name of the class and the system that's bringing the teacher together. Another example of this, in another community, they invite, for example, Imam Siraj Wahaj. Everybody comes and attends the event. Then they invite Imam Abdullah Smith. I was like, who's that? Nobody comes to the event. I don't even know who Abdullah Smith is. I'm just making up a name there. But did you see what just happened there? There was no brand name attached to it. So the brand name was the name of the speaker. And when that speaker doesn't show up, then the activity dies. And when, so it'd be good for a person to learn marketing for themselves, even as you're building your name up, try to build it up. So let's take the Al-Maghrib example. Al-Maghrib example becomes very successful. Then someone comes along and says, why doesn't Al-Maghrib open up a matrimonial service? The Al-Maghrib matrimonial service. Someone else comes along and says, I think Al-Maghrib should do camps. The Al-Maghrib summer camp, which actually they really fought for it and it finally became the Ilm Summit. Right? Why doesn't Al-Maghrib and notice that it was a different name too, right? This is the name changed. Everybody's like fighting tooth and nail to make sure this brand name does not go on any other product except the double weekend seminar. That's all it stays on. Right? Anything else, Iman Rush Audio, it's a different name. Even though we're doing different things, but the brand name doesn't touch anything. So we're not starting, so back to Naeem. Naeem, what's the name of your company? Do you want to share it? What's that? B4? Okay. B? Like the letter B or Nahl? Like that? Blanket? I know. K what? I-E? Blanky. Okay. B for Blanky. I got you. Now it makes sense. But is this the name of your company or just your website? Okay, B for Blanky. Okay, so now B for Blanky all of a sudden becomes really successful, inshallah ta'ala, and they're making crazy things. Now they want to move into the toddler industry, right? And then the toddlers are getting a little bit older, and then they want to hit up the young adult industry. And once they hit the young adult industry, wait a second. And then as things go along, well, what do young adults need? Well, they need some education as well. So they also do the B for Blanky home math tutoring service, which seems kind of logical, right? Obviously, someone will trick him somewhere down the line that says, you know what, you have all these people on your mailing list. Why don't you start doing, marketing some other service? And so there will be a natural tendency to take the brand name and start putting it on multiple things. I give the example of like Mitsubishi. Or even if you said something like, I think Yamaha. What is Yamaha? And someone will say, it's a motorcycle. You talk to people in China, what is it? A piano? Okay, and a piano. Even I didn't even know that, but a person might say something else. It's a motorcycle or it's a Jeep. Obviously, in China, they don't have this branding thing. They mess up their brands. They put it on everywhere, and then the brand becomes very weak. As opposed to someone who just takes their brand, sticks to it. For example, like water, right? When you drink Dasani, it's still Coca-Cola's water, right? As you see, and in fact, which is actually another. Anyhow. So the law of extension, when that happens, if you have, back to your organizational chart, if you have multiple people in this organizational chart, teach them this law of extension, say, you know what, we're going to stick our brand on just that one item. You can have multiple things underneath, right? So you can get more specific. For example, Starbucks sells coffee. How many types of coffee does Starbucks sell? 2,600 brands of coffee, right? So nobody said you can't, get, really into it and focus on, you go into other stores, the party packagers, they sell party items. How many party items? They sell, maybe 2 million party items. Amazon sells books. And now Amazon's kind of like going a little whack, right? But, right, they start selling multiple things within their niche. And that's what people want. They're coming to the niche because they want, things to be specific. And they have lots of variety inside that niche, okay? So for yourself, once you start your company, don't try dabbling in a whole bunch of different things. The more you dabble, you become a dabbler. And everybody's like, oh, this is a dabbler. They are, what do they call it? The jack of all trades is the master of nothing, right? So this person says, oh, there's a little money to be involved here and a little money to be involved here and a little money. And then basically they've just wiped out their brand name. And they just become a nothing. If you look at masjids and Islamic centers, that's exactly what they do. This masjid, Islamic center, basically does everything. Marital counseling, new Muslim, Taraweeh, it does Quran classes, it teaches youth, teaches middle grade, right? It's a brand extension, to the maximum. And they're a master at nothing. Correct? They master nothing. They just are, a little dabble in everything. If I was up against a masjid, I could crush it in a good way. If I was going to open up a paid business right next to a masjid. Masjid does marital counseling. Sheikh Saeed does marital counseling, correct? We open up a marital counseling business with a brand name we come with a perfect angle. We do our ebook, our newsletter, build up the community. And Sheikh Saeed might do it for free. We charge, for example, $500 an hour for it. Okay, now I'm telling you for this reason, right? I'm telling you for this reason. So we're up against the masjid and the local imams counseling. The imams busy and stuff. Come to me once a month for 15 minutes. And they need immediate service. And because it is our brand name, we're focused on it and specialized. And we offer the best service, the best product. And we have a beautiful financing system for people who need to pay in installments and stuff like that. And then everybody just lines up for the marital service. The masjid is just extended over multiple things that it's doing. And now any aspect of the masjid, you come into it and just make a service just on that piece of it. And you just keep doing that. You can pick a masjid apart. And the masjid will be so happy. In fact, Sheikh Saeed will start recommending people to this service. Then you have the marketing of the local imam for you. And if you make it into a national business, all the imams across the country will be sending people towards you. They're like, don't bother me. I don't get paid for this. Go to this national marriage counseling that can take care of you 24 hours a day. If you get into a fight at 2 a.m. in the morning, call our help hotline. 90 cents a minute. Okay. So you understand the law of extension. Inshallah ta'ala, as you build your company, you come back and understand more about this. When we're talking about niche markets, you also have to give up something in order to gain something. So when we're talking about the dabbler, they'll say, but there's some money to be involved here. You have to give up that money in order to focus that energy back onto, your niche and doing it more exceptionally. Okay? So there will be people in your gathering that'll say, no, but there's an opportunity we can't let slip. You got to keep bringing them back to what do we do good? And if we have extra money, we have extra, talent and time, put it back into our niche. And let's work harder. If you look at the Al-Maghrib example, if we're successful in a city, the next logical step a person might say, well, let's do weekday classes. And we're like, no, we're not going to do that. If you want to grow stronger, you start going internationally. Right? So you take your brand, instead of, back to Naeem, if, for example, he's really successful in London, and he's got that market there, and now his partners are telling him, let's go into some other product, like baby shoes, for example. All products for the whole family. Let's do soap for babies, right? And baby water. And baby tricycles and stuff like that, right? So he'd be like, you know what? We're going to stick to our beef or blankie, and we're going to start selling to Asia. We're going to start selling to North America. We're going to start selling to Australia. We're going to have presentations in Australia. And now the person starts making a multinational company, and then they start making their money from multiple countries, but still specific to their blankie. Can anybody compete with them for blankies at that point? No, because they're master. They spend all their time on this thing. Again, same thing with Al-Maghrib Institute. Can anybody compete with the two? Like, we made the system. And we spend all our time on the same thing again and again and again. Someone will come along, local masjid, and say, hey, you know what? We want to do a 2-weekend event as well. We've learned so much about it that there's no competition there. And the masjid is dealing with so many different things, they don't have the effort to put in to actually compete. And yeah, there might be a little bit there, the one sheikh, a lot of big name to him, but after that, it's not the same as someone who's focused completely on that one thing. Another thing about marketing is that you do not want to satisfy the demand. So how many people like seafood here? Seafood? Okay, if you like seafood, imagine that I brought you a seafood platter on all you can eat. It's a food supposed to be for like 5 people, but I put it in front of you and told you to eat it. You said you liked seafood, right? And imagine this whole table of seafood, you're not allowed to leave until you eat all of it. And I insist. And you're like, no, I'm just going to eat a little bit. No, you're going to eat all of it. Right? You met like an Egyptian family or something like that. You're going to eat all of it. So you finish off the whole table of food. Basically, a couple of, rivers are now in your stomach and stuff like that with all the seafood. And then what happens? Yeah, the next time you eat seafood, you hate it. Next time you eat seafood is possibly never. Or maybe you'll say, I'll need 3 years to get over this experience because it was such a painful experience. I used to like mangoes until I went to Pakistan in mango season, right? And everybody's like, would you like some mangoes? Would you like some mangoes? Would you like some mango milkshake? Would you like some mango ice cream? I'm like, I don't want mangoes anymore. I've had it. I know they're juicy. Okay, just stop. And it was like multiple years before I actually had any mangoes after that because it was just overkill. So if you satisfy the demand, that's it. People hate you after that and it's done. You want to stop short. Basically, they come to the end and they want more. They're like, can we go for another couple of hours tonight? No, this is the end of the seminar. Right? When you see the Al-Maghrib seminar, when you come to the end of the seminar, it's not a marathon. They come to the end and they want to continue. And then you say, now that you want to continue, the class has ended. You've stopped at the high. And now the person is desiring to want to do it again. Again, for your product, whatever you're dealing with, the person, you don't want to just satisfy everything and they're finished off. You basically have given them something, and then there's a part 2, and then there are, as they grow with you, you have additional products for them to have. You're never satisfying their demand, and so on. I wasn't going to mention this example, but I'm going to mention it here. It's the Christmas time example. If in Christmas time when everybody's like purchasing, it's a technique that's known that in Christmas time, you give less than the demand. So for example, Nintendo Wii's, right? What happens when the demand is less? People are lining up, they're getting media attention because there's only a few and every store has only gotten like a couple of them and there's a waiting list. And then Christmas time comes and that's it, they've run out. The only time the next shipment will come will be after Christmas. It's just so brilliant. They will continue to thrive from that because the demand was never satisfied. And so and iPod did that as well a couple of Christmases ago, right? Did you guys know iPod did that as well? They were like, oh, their biggest problem was, they didn't supply enough iPods during the Christmas time. It created a frenzy. In fact, with the Al-Maghrib seminars, one of the most freakiest things is to tell people that the class is sold out. I'm like, if it's sold out, just don't tell anybody. Because, it sounds nice and it's good for significance issues, but logistically it will have a stampede at the class when you tell people it's sold out. So I wish I could tell them it was sold out before it's sold out so that the stampede could happen and they'd actually have a seat in the class. So it's like, Al-Maghrib class, sold out. Are you waiting to hear this, waiting to get this message? Register now. Right? So it freaks the person out. They're like, and now they go in and they start registering for it, but that's just the way things are. You also want to, in your marketing, in your first year, again, this is going back to when you start building up your money, plowing money back into your business, okay? And this is like the investment. If you have a business, you're going to be investing in the business. You have 3 pockets. You have your security pocket. You've got your fun pocket. Now you have extra money that's coming in. You start plowing money back into your business. Your money will start piling up. Put it back into the business. Find something to spend it on, whether that's advertising or hiring people or whatever. Put the money back into the business, right? Contractors, not necessarily employee every month, but contractors, you start putting it in. When you start flowing the money through the business, you'll see that the money will cause the marketing to go forward. A lot of you are talking about your businesses, and you're thinking word of mouth marketing, you're thinking of free marketing, but what about actually paid marketing, using your money to get that marketing done? Very few people do it. Muslims, almost never, right? It never happens. So what if you put $1 million into marketing, where you're dealing with a whole community where they pay no money for marketing? You will destroy the competition. Nobody can even touch you. No one is even thinking about that. And when they hear how much you spent in marketing, they'll be like, you're crazy. But you've done conferences, you've done sponsorship, everybody's heard of you. And there are companies that I've noticed that have done this, and I won't mention their names. Maybe off camera, inshallah, I'll mention their names. But Muslim companies, you go to conferences, they have the biggest booth right at the front. Everybody's got a name tag with their name on it, and they usually deal with mortgaging. All right, I'll leave it at that. Okay. The $1 million question in your marketing. How can you provide your product to more people for less money? This is the $1 million question. How can you provide your product, and we're talking about product, not necessarily service. How can you provide your product to more people for less money? This is the ultimate Chinese model. Made in China. How can you provide your product to more people for less money? So you're constantly thinking of ways to get your product to more people, okay? For less money. Now, normally when it comes to, back to the people who are afraid to charge people for their money, I'm not necessarily telling you to charge people less in the beginning. If you just have a service, you have a simple product, you don't have the the luxury, that's it. You don't have the luxury of giving people cheaper prices. Because you're only going to, that ebook that was for $20 per book, normally you can get books for cheaper than that, but this is a specialty book, and you're only going to get 10 people to buy it anyway, so don't sell it for 50 cents, right? You sell it for 50 cents, you just made $5 right there, right? You're not going up against Walmart here. Walmart, lowest price, so you're like, I got my ebook, lowest price is the law. Right? You can't do that. You've got a specialty product. You charge accordingly. People understand this is a specialty product. They're not saying, oh, your product's more expensive than the local Blockbuster, but that's because it's everywhere, right? You don't have the distribution network. But as time grows, you want to be, I want to tell you this, for all of you who are thinking of a product or service, own the distribution network. Okay? Own the distribution network. Forget the product and forget the service. Everybody who makes a product from here forward will have to go through yours. You have the keys to the distribution. Anybody, for example, Bilal's like, I want to make a video. I'm like, okay, I'll make a system where videos can be sold. You and 500 other people like you will have to give me royalties to go through the system, right? That's when you own the distribution network. Instead of trying to get clients for your printing company, why not be like a broker, get not just clients for you, everybody needs clients. So you start making a system, a service, where everybody finds the best deal. And now all of the printing shops, and you're not actually doing printing, but you own the distribution. How do people get clients to come? That's like the broker idea, okay? If you look at a movie, how much does it cost to make it, these big Hollywood productions? Let's say $100 million. $100 million they spent on 2 hours. Yeah, at least $100 million. Just 2 hours. They spent $100 million. You can't even comprehend that much. How much do you get to watch this movie for? Like 99 cents or $8 or depending on, whether you went it on Tuesday or not or something like that, right? So why do they do that? Why do they spend if anybody would like $8,000 per person who comes to watch this movie, they have a right to charge that much. It costs $100 million to make it, but yet they make their money through the distribution. Again, you don't necessarily have a distribution channel like that, but it's giving you an idea of new ways of thinking.